Hello everyone, this is Braden with Midwest Websites, your solution for WordPress web design and search engine optimization. And today I'm going to be showing you how to back up a website using FTP, or File Transfer Protocol. Now, when you're building a website, particularly when it's for businesses, it's going to be important to make sure that you have a backup copy of your website that is not stored on your web host server. Regardless of whether you're hosting with GoDaddy or Bluehost or 1&1 or HostGator, there are lots of things that can happen to a website that can cause it to either stop working completely or cause it to start performing poorly or showing information that you don't want it to see. There are malicious scripts that can put malware onto your website that just exist to comb the internet and create issues. You could have a developer that makes an update that they don't know how to fix if it breaks a website. Or you could just be going in and doing something like updating a WordPress version or a plugin, and all of a sudden you have a white screen and no way to get back into the WordPress admin dashboard. Now, the first step for going in and taking a backup copy of your website is going to be to get an FTP client. I personally recommend Filezilla. It's going to be one of the more user-friendly options that is out there, and most major hosting providers allow you to connect using Filezilla if they allow you to go in and back up a website. Now, this will not work with proprietary website builders like GoDaddy's website builder, or with Wix, or with Weebly, and there are some platforms like BigCommerce where you have to use a slightly different program like CyberDuck. But on the whole, this is going to be one of your best options for going in and getting a copy of your website. Now, Filezilla offers a few different options for download. Make sure that you're clicking the download button under Filezilla and not under the Filezilla server. And then, if you're not using a Windows 64-bit system, you can show the additional options for downloading a version of Filezilla that will work for your computer. They've got options for 32-bit Windows, Mac, Linux, pretty much anything that you're going to need. Now, once you go ahead and click on what you need, it'll download the file to your computer, and you can either just use the .exe file, which will usually be the easiest way to just go through the setup quickly, or if you want all of the files handy, you can extract them from a zip file and do the setup that way. Now, once you've got Filezilla installed, it's going to look something like this. Now, you'll see that Filezilla is kind of broken into a few different sections. The left side is going to be what's on your computer. You can click on different folders in this section of the screen, and it'll open up what you've got in those folders for you. Down here, you can see the files that are in your folders. This can be pretty important if you want to go through and take a look at what's on your computer, and Filezilla allows you to both download from the server and upload to your server via a drag and drop system. We'll go over that in just a little while. For right now, we're just going to go ahead and go to our website backups, and I'm going to go ahead and create a directory. We're just going to call this example backup. And now we'll go into that folder, and we're ready to go, basically. Now, I will be using GoDaddy's cPanel hosting to show you how to back up this website. Most cPanels have a lot of the same buttons. They might look a little different, particularly in GoDaddy's case, since they've got a custom skin that makes it look green instead of the normal blue and white. But most of the same buttons are there, and all of this information translates well to other platforms like Plesk as well. So I've already gone ahead and set up the cPanel. I'm going to go ahead and manage it from the My Products page of GoDaddy here. And once it loads here, you'll notice in Filezilla, we're going to be looking for a way to get connected to the server. And there are 4 pieces of information we're going to need. We'll need a host, a username, a password, and a port. Now, to save a little bit of effort on what we're going to need here, most providers will use port 21. A occasionally you'll have one that either uses port 22 for what's called secure FTP, or in extremely rare cases, you may have a different port altogether. 21 is the standard. Almost all major providers use this. For the host, we need one of two things. I personally recommend that you go the route of getting the IP address for the server, because that way you know that you're connecting directly to your server, and you aren't going to run into issues with a content delivery network, or CDN for short. You're not going to run into issues with firewalls or anything like that. The other way you can connect using a host is using your web address. Example.midwestwebsites.com is going to be the one that we're going to be using here. Now, since content delivery networks route you through a different IP address than your server, if you're using one of those, you cannot use the domain name. You have to use your hosting plan's IP address, which is why I recommended it earlier. So we're going to go ahead and copy that, and we're going to go over to Filezilla and just paste it in here. Now we need our username and our password. Now I'm going to go ahead and just use the root credentials that the cPanel gives us here, since they're on GoDaddy's page. It automatically has generated a login. I did not come up with this delightful string of gibberish. So we're going to go ahead and just pop that in here. And now we need a password. Now, as you can see, it's already generated a password for us, but we don't have a way to see it. This is pretty standard with cPanels, and there's not an easy way to work around that. You can do some tricky things with Secure Shell to sometimes get this information, but most shared hosting platforms are going to keep you from getting in too deep with that. So we're going to go ahead and just change the password. I'm going to have it automatically generate one for us, and I'm going to click the little eyeball here so that I can see what it is. We'll go ahead and just copy that over. I'm going to put this in a notepad just in case we need it again. Probably not a bad idea to save a similar document on your computer or to go ahead and jot it down somewhere in your password book. You don't have to generate a password. You can always put your own in. Just make sure that you're following all of the criteria that it's asking for here, and make sure that it matches down below. Which I don't know why it isn't saying it's matching, but it should still let us go through without any problem. There we go. So we've changed our password. We'll close the little pop-up window. And we'll go ahead and just paste that into Filezilla. And now we have all of the details we need to get connected. And sometimes it's going to give you a little notification saying that the server's certificate is unknown, asking you if it's okay to trust it. Go ahead and trust it, it's fine. And now we are connected into the server. As you can see, we've got a whole mess of files here that have appeared on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, all of our server files are going to live here. In the case of cPanel, since we are looking for the root folder that our website lives in, that is almost always going to be public_HTML. So we'll just double-click on that to go in here. And as you can see, we have a whole bunch of files here, most of which are dedicated to our WordPress website. And if we go back over to GoDaddy's hosting real quick, we'll just go into the cPanel admin. It's going to ask me to sign back in. Wait for it to load here. GoDaddy server must be busy today. We'll just do a quick refresh since it's taking its time. Okay, we all have better things to do than wait on that, so we'll just jump out and jump back in real quick. We're looking for the web hosting section, jump in. And then we'll go back into cPanel admin. All right. So if we go into the file manager, it's going to start us in public HTML. You're going to see that the files here are going to look the same as how they look over here. It's the same batch of files. And to download them, it's actually pretty easy. We can either drag our mouse over and highlight everything, or you can click into the box if you're in Windows and use Control-A to highlight everything, and it'll highlight everything for you as well. And then you're going to click your mouse somewhere in the highlighted area, hold the button down, and drag it over to your computer. And as you can see, it's going to start queuing up files for download. This will probably take several minutes, depending upon how robust your WordPress website is, how many plugins you have installed, what sort of theme you're using. This could even be a couple hours, depending upon the amount of files you have, how many pictures you've uploaded, or even your internet connection speed. So this is going to vary a little bit. This is just a vanilla WordPress installation. There isn't anything installed beyond what is default installed in a GoDaddy installation. So this is probably not going to take terribly long, but there are other things we can be doing while we're waiting for this to come up. Now, with a WordPress website, you also have to consider downloading a database, not just these files here. There's one other piece that you need to go get. This is also true for other content management systems like Joomla or Drupal. But if you're using something like Dreamweaver or Adobe Muse, you don't have to worry about a database. It doesn't use them. Another popular one that's been hanging around since about 2009 or so. iWeb's another one that also does not use a database. So we need to get a little bit of information from the WordPress config file first. Now, if it weren't downloading, I could open it from here, but since I'm in the process of downloading, it's kind of locked out all of my file options. So we're going to jump back over to cPanel real quick. And we're going to go ahead and open this up. So we're going to do a code edit to get some information on what our database name is. Now, content management systems like WordPress or Joomla or Drupal have a file like this somewhere. It's going to vary depending upon what you're using. For WordPress, it's always going to be called wp-config.php. And it's always going to be in the folder where your website is installed. So in this case, public HTML. Right click it, we'll go into code edit, we'll tell it it's okay to edit. And what we're looking for is going to show up right on this first page here. We need to know what the database name is. In this case, it's I4782598_W01. So now that we have that, we need to go to where the database lives. We're going to jump over to the main cPanel page again here. And the databases that you install in a cPanel are all going to live in phpMyAdmin. Now, if you're on a virtual private or dedicated server, you can access this through WHM as well. But for most people who are running a small business website, you're going to be on shared hosting, and phpMyAdmin is going to be your standard. Now, as you can see, we have a couple different things here. We've got information schema, which is always going to be present. And we have our database. Now, we can see all of these different tables here. If we want to make doubly sure that we're working with the right website, we can go to WO_options. Normally it's WP_options. I'm not just sure why it's labeled it this way, but basically you're looking for the entry that ends with _options to get the information you need. As we can see, the site URL is example.midwestwebsites.com. That's the one that we installed a little bit ago. And we also just want to double check and make sure that our home is set up the same way, which it is. Example.midwestwebsites.com. So this is the right database. We're going to go ahead and click on the database name over on the left. And there are going to be some options up here for us. The one we care about is going to be the export option. And this will look a little different depending upon the hosting platform you're using. This one's pretty straightforward. Most cases, if you're given the option to do just a quick option and download as an SQL file like this here, you're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and just do that. It's going to ask us if we want to save our file. That's great. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then the file should appear in your downloads folder or whatever the equivalent of it is on your operating system. And just to make sure everything's in the same place, I like to go ahead and just cut it out of the downloads folder and make sure that we're putting it into the same folder that the rest of our files are, just so that everything's together. So we're going to go ahead and I've gone ahead and just pasted it in here. I used Control-V since I'm in Windows, but if you right-click, you can also still just use the paste option here. Alright, and occasionally you may find a duplicate value. That's fine, we'll go ahead and just overwrite that for now. It's perfectly okay. And we've got all our files downloaded. That's excellent. We've got our database downloaded. And you can also refresh what's on your page by clicking into a box and then pressing the F5 key. As you can see, our database shows up there. So we've got our files, we've got our database. So you've got a copy of your website off of the server. It's ready to be used if you are changing to a different web host or need to upload this backup to replace a damaged version of your website. We'll cover that in another video. Beyond that, that's all you really need to know. You've got everything you need, so you are clear to go ahead and close all of your windows and move on with your day. To learn more about our services, you can also check out the link in the description below. We'll have a link to the design and SEO services we offer, as well as a link to our store. And if this video was helpful to you, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let people know we exist. We'll keep making more of these videos and see if we can make running a website a little more accessible for the average business owner. A lot of companies like to make it too hard. I like to think that we're here to make things a little easier instead. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments in the description below, and have a great day.